The immense, crescent-shaped conference hall of the Intergalactic Council was filled to the brim with representatives of various alien species. Situated in orbit around the radiant blue star Siren, the hall buzzed with the chatter of dozens of languages, some vocal, others telepathic, creating a cacophony of interspecies communication. At the heart of this cosmic assembly stood the human delegation, markedly less adorned and technologically modest compared to their counterparts. Admiral Nia Morris, leading the human contingent, stepped forward to present humanity's case for joining the alliance against the rogue marauders, a nomadic, warlike race threatening the galaxy's fragile peace. The marauders had been on a conquest, seizing planets and annihilating entire civilizations. Humanity, relatively new to the Council and inexperienced in interstellar warfare at this scale, sought to offer its support and request aid. As Nia outlined Earth's proposed contributions, her voice firm despite the condescending murmurs, a ripple of laughter spread across the chamber. The Yilthri, a species known for their 6 eyes and superior technological advancements, were the first to openly mock. Their leader, High Counselor Tereska, floated above his seat, his voice booming through the translators. "You bring quaint ships and primitive weapons to a celestial war? You aim to fight Star Eaters with slingshots?" The laughter was infectious. Soon other species joined in. The Kivar, with their crystalline structures resonating with light, shimmered in amusement. The Xanthrope delegation, telepathic beings of immense intellect, broadcast waves of skepticism that resonated around the room. Even the stoic Galdan, encased in their bio-armor, clanked in disdainful amusement. Nia waited for the laughter to subside, her expression unreadable. Once the hall returned to a semblance of order, she spoke again, her tone even but laced with a challenge. "We appreciate the Council's feedback. However, humanity believes in showing rather than telling. We invite the leaders of each skeptical species to visit our space. Witness firsthand what humans are capable of." A murmur of intrigue followed her bold invitation. Tereska hovered closer, his eyes narrowing. "And what would we see, Admiral Morris? More of your little planets and quaint ships?" Nia's reply was calm but confident. "You will see why even the smallest fangs can bite deeply. We await your visit to our hidden colonies, where the heart of human ingenuity beats strongest." Despite continued skepticism, the curiosity of the Council could not be denied. Plans were made, and a delegation was formed to witness the capabilities of Earth's distant and hidden colonies. What was intended as a moment of mockery turned into the precursor of a journey that would drastically shift the galactic perception of humanity. Admiral Nia Morris stood resolute as the alien delegation prepared to depart for the hidden colonies of humanity. Assembled were representatives from the most vocal critics in the Council, High Counselor Tereska of the Yilthri, Ambassador Kavoth from the Kivar, and a few others, each a leader from their respective spacefaring races. Their ships, gleaming with advanced technology, dwarfed the Star Whisperer, the human vessel chosen for this mission. Despite this, the human crew exuded a quiet confidence that seemed to perplex their guests. The journey was set to begin from Earth's orbit, where the Star Whisperer was docked at the International Space Station, now retrofitted as an interstellar embassy. The alien delegates were given a tour of the station which, while technologically inferior, was meticulously maintained and showcased Earth's rich cultural heritage through artifacts and historical displays. As they boarded the Star Whisperer, Nia briefed them on the travel itinerary. "We will be making several jumps through uncharted wormholes. These routes are not on the standard stellar maps but have been safely navigated by our pilots for years," she explained, as the crew prepared for departure. The aliens, accustomed to the safety and predictability of well-trodden space lanes, exchanged uneasy glances. The first jump was the most telling. The Star Whisperer vibrated with energy as it initiated the sequence, and when the ship lurched through the wormhole, a palpable tension filled the bridge. The alien delegates braced themselves against the unfamiliar roughness of the ride, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and astonishment. As they emerged into the vast expanse of an uncharted system, the view from the bridge was a stark contrast to the bustling trade routes of the galaxy. Here, stars twinkled against the inky backdrop of space, unmarred by the usual traffic of freighters and cruisers. Nia noticed the change in her guests' demeanor as they looked out at the untapped wilderness of space, their earlier condescension replaced by a grudging respect. "Our first stop will be Teranova, located in the Helios asteroid belt," Nia announced as she pointed to a distant speck growing larger on their navigation screens. It's one of several colonies we established in secret, designed as a self-sustaining fortress. You'll find that humanity excels at thriving where others see only desolation. Teranova, humanity's secret gem in the Helios asteroid belt, loomed ahead as the Star Whisperer approached. The colony was carved into and around the largest asteroid in the belt, its structure a blend of rugged asteroid rock and sleek human engineering. As the delegation's ship docked, the alien representatives were greeted by a bustling community that defied their expectations of a primitive outpost. Admiral Nia Morris led the group through the main concourse of the colony. The walls, lined with bioluminescent algae, cast a soft glow that illuminated murals depicting Earth and the history of human space exploration. Teranova isn't just a military base, it's a beacon of human culture and resilience, Nia explained, her voice echoing slightly in the vast open space. The tour continued to the Central Command where Captain Julius Mwangi, the military commander of Teranova, awaited them. With a robust build and a calm demeanor, he epitomized the seasoned warrior ethos of the colony. "Welcome to our fortress among the stars," he greeted them, his voice firm yet welcoming. "Let me show you why Teranova is more than capable of standing with the Council's forces." The delegates were shown the advanced surveillance and defense systems, which monitored space around the asteroid belt with an array of sensors and long-range detectors. "Our location provides strategic advantages not only in military terms but also as a hub for deep space exploration and resource gathering," Captain Mwangi detailed, pointing to screens displaying the vast network of automated mining drones at work in nearby asteroids. The aliens, particularly High Counselor Tereska, observed with a critical eye. The technological displays, while impressive, were expected. It was the strategic implications of such a base that began to shift their perspectives. "Your isolation here, it offers significant tactical benefits," Tereska admitted, his voice a mix of surprise and contemplation. The highlight of the visit came when they were taken to the military hangars, where rows of sleek, formidable human starfighters were lined up, ready for deployment. Here, they witnessed a live drill, starfighters executing complex maneuvers with precision that rivaled the best pilots from other civilizations. Ambassador Kavoth of the Kivar, whose species was renowned for their technological prowess, expressed his admiration reluctantly. "Your crafts are agile and your pilots skilled. There is a raw, unpolished edge to your methods, but it is effective." The day concluded with a demonstration of the colony's self-sustainability, showcasing hydroponic farms and water recycling systems that supported not just the military, but a thriving civilian population. The delegates dined on a variety of foods produced right on the asteroid, a testament to human adaptability. As night fell on Teranova, simulated by dimming the lights to mimic Earth's day-night cycle, the delegates retired to their quarters, their minds heavy with new respect and reconsideration of humanity's role in the galaxy. What started as skepticism was slowly melting away, replaced by a budding acknowledgement of human potential. The next morning on Terra, Nova began with an air of palpable excitement, as Admiral Nia Morris had announced a demonstration of human military capabilities designed to impress and persuade the visiting delegates. The central arena of the colony had been transformed into a strategic command center, with live feeds broadcasting from various points in the Helios asteroid belt. "Today you will witness a simulated engagement exercise involving multiple squadrons from our fleet," Nia explained as she led the delegation into the observation gallery. The gallery offered a panoramic view of space around the asteroid, where holographic displays would soon showcase the mock battle. Captain Julius Mwangi took the lead, detailing the scenario, a defensive operation against a simulated marauder incursion. As the exercise commenced, the silence in the room was thick, broken only by the strategic commands issued by Teranova's control team and the responding acknowledgments from the pilots. The holograms flickered to life, displaying dozens of human starfighters as they maneuvered into formation. The exercise was designed to display the agility and firepower of the human fleet, along with their innovative tactics that were developed under the unique conditions of their hidden existence. As the simulation unfolded, the alien delegates watched as small, agile human fighters executed rapid, coordinated strikes against larger holographic enemy ships. The fighters used the asteroid belt to their advantage, weaving between rocks and debris, effectively using the natural terrain as both shield and weapon. High Counselor Tereska, previously a skeptic, leaned forward, his eyes tracking the movements of the fighters. "Their tactics are unconventional," he muttered almost to himself, "but undeniably effective. They turn their environmental disadvantages into advantages." Ambassador Kavoth too seemed intrigued. "Their ships lack some of the advanced weaponry our fleets possess, yet their pilots make up for it with sheer skill and daring. It's impressive." The climax of the demonstration was a dramatic display of a coordinated strike, where all human ships converged on a flagship in a decisive, crippling blow. The simulated enemy was overwhelmed, its defenses no match for the human fleet's precision and timing. As the exercise ended and the lights in the arena brightened, applause broke out, led by the alien delegates. They had witnessed not just the might of human ships, but a spirit of resilience and ingenuity. Captain Wangi smiled, addressing the room. "What you've seen today is the result of years of training and adaptation. We are ready to stand with the Council, not just as participants, but as leaders in our right." The demonstration had clearly shifted perceptions among the delegation. Discussions that followed over a shared meal were no longer about whether humans could contribute to the war effort, but how best to integrate their forces with the rest of the galactic community. Admiral Morris concluded the day with a quiet confidence. "We appreciate your openness to witness what we have to offer. Teranova is just one of our hidden strengths. Humanity looks forward to fighting alongside you, not just for our survival, but for the peace and security of the galaxy." As the delegates prepared to return to their ships, their conversations were not of doubts, but of strategies and alliances. The humans had successfully turned derision into respect, setting the stage for a united front in the impending war. As the alien delegates prepared to depart from Teranova, the atmosphere was charged with a newfound camaraderie. The impressive military demonstration had not only showcased human capabilities, but had also broken down barriers of skepticism and prejudice. Admiral Nia Morris and Captain Julius Mwangi escorted their guests back to the Star Whisperer, now set to return them to the Intergalactic Council's space station orbiting Siren. During the journey back, the discussions among the delegation shifted from mere formalities to strategic planning and resource sharing. High Counselor Tereska, previously the most vocal critic, initiated a conversation about the tactical placements of the human fleets. "Your fighters' agility could be crucial in the narrow passages of the Nebulon sectors," he suggested, studying the star maps displayed on the central hologram. Ambassador Kavoth chimed in, his voice thoughtful. "And your knowledge of these uncharted territories could provide us with a significant advantage. The Marauders rely heavily on ambush tactics, which your sensors seem adept at detecting." Admiral Morris acknowledged the suggestions, her mind already racing with potential strategies. "We appreciate your insights. Teranova is ready to serve as a forward base for operations, and we can set up supply routes using our stealth transports." The journey culminated in a formal meeting aboard the Intergalactic Council's station, where the leaders of each species convened to finalize their alliance. The human delegation presented a detailed proposal outlining how Earth's hidden colonies and fleets could integrate with the galactic forces. The Council, once dismissive of the humans, now listened intently. The proposal included not only military support but also humanitarian aid, rescue operations, and intelligence sharing, all spearheaded by human forces. The details were thorough, reflecting a deep understanding of the stakes involved in the conflict. After hours of negotiations, the agreement was drafted. Earth would officially join the Galactic Defense Alliance, with Admiral Morris signing on behalf of humanity. The document was more than just a treaty. It was a symbol of humanity's rise from underestimation to a position of respect and responsibility within the galaxy. The signing ceremony was brief but significant, attended by representatives from all major species. As they each placed their marks on the parchment, a blend of traditional and digital elements designed to honor all cultures present, there was a palpable sense of unity. High Counselor Tereska, once a skeptic, now addressed the assembly, his voice resonant and clear. "Today we stand together not just as allies but as comrades in arms. The humans, whom we once doubted, have shown us the strength of their commitment and the valor of their hearts. Let us move forward together with respect and courage." As the assembly broke up, there were handshakes and gestures of respect across species lines, each acknowledging the other's strengths and contributions. The humans had not only gained allies, but had also earned a pivotal role in the forthcoming battles. Admiral Morris and her team returned to Earth to prepare, their spirits buoyed by the successful negotiations. The news of the alliance was received on Earth with celebrations, as people across the globe looked up at the stars with hope and determination. The war was still looming, but humanity was no longer standing alone. They were at the heart of a galactic unity, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the alliance now solidified, the combined fleets of the Galactic Defense Alliance gathered near Teranova, which served as the command hub for the initial phase of the war against the Marauders. Admiral Nia Morris, now recognized as a key strategist within the alliance, coordinated the movements of the fleets, integrating human ingenuity with alien technologies. The War Council, consisting of the top military leaders from each species, convened aboard the flagship of the alliance, the Harbinger of Dawn. Here, plans were laid out for a surprise assault on the Marauders' forward base in the Draxon Nebula, a region notorious for its unstable star clusters and nebulous cover, perfect for an ambush. The mood was tense but determined as Captain Julius Mwangi briefed the pilots and captains of various ships. Our intelligence, gathered through human deep space drones, has confirmed the location of their base, he announced, pointing to the holomap displaying the nebula. Our approach will be in two waves. The first, led by the Yothri and Kivar fleets, will draw their fire and disrupt their sensors. The second wave, our human squadrons, will use the cover to strike at their core facilities. As the fleets maneuvered into position, the Marauders were unaware of the formidable force amassing just outside their detection range. The initial strike was a dazzling display of coordinated firepower and advanced technology. Lasers and energy beams lit up the nebula, cutting through the dense gas with precision. The Yothri's advanced cloaking technology allowed them to sow confusion among the Marauder ships, which scrambled to mount a defense. Then came the human-led wave. The starfighters, small and agile, darted through the chaos, slipping past the Marauder defenses. Their target was the enemy's command station, a massive structure floating deep within the nebula. As they deployed their payloads, the structure suffered critical damage, severely crippling the Marauders' ability to coordinate their scattered forces. Back on the Harbinger of Dawn, cheers erupted as reports of the successful strike filtered in. Admiral Morris watched the battle unfold, her expression one of focused command. "Maintain pressure," she ordered, her voice steady. "This is just the beginning." The victory at Draxon Nebula was more than a military triumph. It was a declaration of the Alliance's might and the effectiveness of its diverse tactics. The Marauders, who had once terrorized the galaxy with their unpredicted raids, now faced an enemy united not just in purpose, but in respect for each other's strengths. In the weeks that followed, the Alliance pressed their advantage, liberating planets and intercepting Marauder convoys. Humanity's role was crucial, their hidden colonies serving as staging points and their fleets often at the forefront of the skirmishes. News of the victories spread across the galaxy, broadcasting on multiple frequencies and shared through every available communication channel. On Earth and other human colonies, people gathered to watch updates from the front lines, their fears turning into hopes as each battle was won. Admiral Morris, once unsure of humanity's place in the galactic community, now saw her species rise as leaders and protectors. The war was far from over, but the early victories had given the Alliance a much-needed edge, and the resolve to see the conflict through to its end. As the war progressed, the role of humanity within the Alliance became increasingly pivotal. Their expertise in navigating and utilizing uncharted regions of space proved invaluable, allowing the Allied forces to outmaneuver the Marauders at several critical junctures. Captain Julius Mwangi spearheaded a series of daring operations that capitalized on this strategic advantage. Using the extensive network of hidden human colonies as bases, his fleet launched surprise attacks on Marauder supply lines and isolated outposts, systematically weakening their operational capabilities. One such operation took place near the shadowy confines of the Kethar Void, a region notorious for its dense asteroid fields and erratic gravitational anomalies. The human-led task force utilized the terrain to their advantage, setting up an ambush that decimated a Marauder resupply convoy. On board the Star Whisperer, now serving as the command vessel for these deep space operations, Captain Mwangi coordinated with Admiral Morris and alien tacticians. "These hit-and-run tactics are reducing the Marauders' ability to fight a prolonged war," he reported during one of their strategy meetings. "They're beginning to spread thin, trying to guard against us on multiple fronts." Meanwhile, Admiral Morris worked tirelessly to maintain the unity and morale of the Alliance. She facilitated technology exchanges between the species, integrating alien energy weapon systems into human starfighters and vice versa, enhancing the overall combat effectiveness of the Allied fleets. Her efforts bore fruit during a critical battle at the system of Lyrae, where the Alliance faced a large marauder fleet intent on breaking through to a strategic sector. The battle was intense, with heavy casualties on both sides, but the enhanced human starfighters, equipped with Yul-3 cloaking technology and Kivar energy weapons, played a key role in turning the tide. They managed to infiltrate the marauder formations undetected, unleashing havoc from within. Back on Earth and other human worlds, the news of the battle and the heroics of the human pilots stirred a sense of pride and solidarity. Civilians volunteered in large numbers to support the war effort, from building ships to providing logistical support. The successes at Lyrae 9th and other fronts began to shift the balance of power. The marauders, once seen as an unstoppable scourge, now appeared vulnerable. The Alliance, buoyed by their victories, pushed forward, planning an all-out offensive to capitalize on their momentum. In the war rooms and on the battlefields, the camaraderie among the various species grew stronger. Veterans of the conflicts shared tales of bravery and sacrifice, which were broadcast across the galaxy, inspiring all who heard them. The narrative was no longer about survival, but about reclaiming the peace and security that the marauders had shattered. As they prepared for the next phase of the war, the Allied leaders met on Teranova to discuss the final push. With humanity at the forefront, they planned a series of decisive strikes that would either bring the marauders to the negotiating table or eradicate their threat once and for all. The war approached as the Allied forces gathered near Calidor, a massive gas giant on the outskirts of marauder-controlled space. Here, the marauders had fortified their largest remaining stronghold, a sprawling space fortress surrounded by a fleet of battleships. The Allied forces, under the unified command of Admiral Nia Morris, prepared for what was anticipated to be the most challenging battle of the war. In the hours leading up to the battle, the mood among the troops and commanders was a mixture of determination and solemnity. The Harbinger of Dawn served as the flagship for the final operation, with representatives from each species present to oversee the battle. Admiral Morris addressed the assembly, her voice resolute. "This is the culmination of our efforts and sacrifices. Today we stand not just for our homes and our people, but for a future where fear and tyranny do not dictate the fate of the galaxy." The plan was multifaceted, involving a direct assault on the stronghold, coupled with a series of feints and distractions to disperse the marauder forces. Human stealth units, along with Yul-3 and Kivar specialists, would infiltrate key points in the enemy's defenses to sabotage their systems. As the battle commenced, the sky around Calidor erupted into a storm of laser fire and explosions. The Allied fleets, led by Captain Julius Mwangi's squadron, engaged the marauder ships with precision and ferocity. Meanwhile, the infiltration teams did their work, disrupting communications and weapon systems from within the stronghold. The turning point came when a critical breach in the fortress's shield was achieved, thanks to a daring maneuver by a human pilot who had volunteered for the risky mission. With the shields down, a barrage of missiles and energy beams from the Allied ships hammered the stronghold, causing significant damage. Throughout the battle, Admiral Morris coordinated the movements from the command center on the Harbinger of Dawn, her calm amidst the chaos serving as a stabilizing force for her crew and the Allied leaders. "Push forward, but keep formation tight," she commanded, her eyes on the live feed showing the progress of the battle. The final moments were tense and fraught with peril as the Marauder commander, realizing defeat was imminent, attempted a desperate counterattack. This move, however, was anticipated by Captain Mwangi, who had set a trap using the asteroid belt surrounding Calidor. The Marauder fleet, lured into the belt, found themselves caught in a crossfire, their escape routes cut off by strategically positioned Allied ships. As the last Marauder ship was destroyed or surrendered, a cheer went up among the Allied forces. The stronghold, now heavily damaged and without reinforcements, finally surrendered. The leaders of the Marauders were taken into custody, and their reign of terror came to an abrupt end. In the aftermath of the battle, as the Allied forces regrouped and began the process of repairs and recovery, there was a profound sense of relief and victory. Admiral Morris, looking out over the field of debris and the quiet giant of Calidor, felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The galaxy had been pushed to the brink of collapse, but together, they had pulled it back. As the commanders of each species met to discuss the terms of the Marauders' surrender and the reconstruction of the affected regions, there was an undeniable respect and gratitude towards humanity, which had gone from being the underdog to a galactic leader. The war was over, and though the road to recovery would be long and fraught with challenges, the future was now brighter, with humanity playing a central role in shaping it.